Welcome back, everyone, to race number 4 in the Data Driver series powered by Splunk. This series where we're going racing on iRacing and hacking with Splunk to highlight Splunk's unique capabilities for IT applied to racing and esports. I'm Corey Minton, strategist for Splunk, and I'm joined by my co-host, Kyle Prince. Kyle, how you doing today, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing great today, Corey. As you can tell, we're in my home state of Tennessee, here to battle it out. There in East Tennessee, Bristol Motor Speedway. Really excited to be here.
Absolutely. Well, what's interesting, Kyle, is that, in all the races leading up to this, we've been in GT3 class cars and on road courses around the world. And we decided to make a little bit of a change with this race. We're actually going NASCAR style racing, as Kyle said, at Bristol Motor Speedway. One of the really just seminal, best tracks in the world for NASCAR that are so fun to watch. It's only a half-mile oval course, and excited to go racing today. I want to encourage everybody who's checking out Data Drivers that you can join the racing series by hitting that link in the chat. And you can also chat with us. We'll be over there hanging out answering your questions throughout the broadcast if you've got any for us. But I do want to highlight George Wicker, new racer with us, a Splunk partner who has set the pole position. I was lucky enough to come in second, but you'll notice another new racer with us. That's Blake Reynolds. Blake is a driver for McLaren's Shadow Esports team participating in Coca-Cola NASCAR Racing Series. Kyle, how intimidated are you right now by racing a pro?
I am extremely intimidated. What's going through my head right now is just don't crash into Blake, because with this start, it's a bit different than what we were doing with the GT3 class. We're doing a couple laps of getting warmed up. I'm trying to use this opportunity to warm up my tires, try and get ready to go, because as we've seen, tires mean everything. And just doing my best to not hit Blake.
Absolutely. Well, he's right there beside you in that beautiful McLaren Shadow car, and we are just about underway. Pace car has pulled into the pits, and George is off. There you see me and Blake side by side. Blake taking that inside line on the first turn, looking great. Now, it looks like some of those cars are a bit different. Kyle, are we seeing more than one type of car out there?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just, Chevy versus Ford or Toyota. We've actually got a couple different class cars that are, they're noted over.
Oh, hang on there. I just put it in the wall. That's no good. That's hard on no matter what car you're driving. They don't generally like being hit in the wall. It's probably one of those cold tire challenges again.
Oof. Yeah, one thing that was really interesting about this is with it being a half-mile track, your lap times are only about 15 seconds. So it took 5-6 laps to really get going there, Corey. So just a little bit of excitement on your end.
Absolutely. It looks like we got Jeremy Howerton took a little bit of a spin, goes into the pit to use one of those fast repairs. Jeremy, a great Splunk customer and partner, driving a car that we'll see hopefully a little bit later in this race. I think he's got a movie-inspired racing livery, which is pretty sweet. But I'll be honest here, we're seeing George, a novice racer. I think he's got maybe a D or C class license in NASCAR, holding strong against Blake Reynolds. That is quite impressive to see. I think it might have something to do with those cars that we were talking about.
Yes.
As Kyle was mentioning, this car you see right here, this is George driving what's called the Next Gen Cup car. So in the 2022 racing series, racing season for NASCAR, you'll see a new car with some new tech come out, a sequential gearbox, more downforce, totally new design from Ford, Chevy, and Toyota that are going to compete. And they're just flat out faster, at least on this track in the base setups of iRacing, than the Cup cars. And there you can see we've got George, a D-class driver in oval for iRacing, holding it steady against a pro World Series license holder in Blake Reynolds. That is pretty darn impressive.
Now, Corey, I noticed you said the D-class licenses, but then I also see a couple R classes there. Ooh,
yeah, so some content. Oh man, that's I love seeing that racing action. Oh, there we see. Was that no? That was not George. That looked like. Oh, that was George. Just took a spin. Oh no, we've got a big lead change. George is going to fall off. Blake is going to jump into the lead. That is too bad. Actually, I don't think that was George. Was it the number 6 car? I think that might have been John Labaugh.
Yes, they do have similar paint schemes, but the
They
numbers
do.
are different.
That's true.
On that one. Yes. And that is one thing about those next-gen cars, Corey, is while they are extremely powerful, there is some finessing on this track. It's not as simple as drive fast, turn left, but there is some strategy around there of maybe when to apply some brakes or let off the gas there, especially as the tire wears down, as we'll see later in the race.
Yeah, and you were talking about license differences. You've got a bunch of R's, those are rookies. You've got the C and the D class and then the W, kind of an increasing licenses. But what's interesting is usually in NASCAR style races, especially one like this, where you have folks that are more skill set sort of similar, you see them being in what they call the train or the tow, right, where cars are really close together. And we're really just not seeing that. And it's partially from the disparity between the cars, but also I think in the disparity in the skills. But certainly you and I seem to be keeping it pretty tidy back there. Now here we're seeing a kind of an interesting capability within iRacing where we can start to visualize what's going on in pit strategy. And as we talked about with Tobin in the previous races, understanding your tires and their health as it pertains to you setting pit strategy is really important. And I have a feeling that pit strategy will play a unique role in a race like this.
Yeah, absolutely. And going back to what you were saying about this strategy around dragging and reducing drag behind that and trying to train together. I'm noticing on the track overlay that you and I are actually staying pretty close neck and neck there, and that might be helping with our keeping some lap times down and advancing us further along the pole.
I think you could say that we're pretty similar in skill, and we're definitely in basically the same car, which is good. Well, for those of you who've had a chance to join us for the races, one, we thank you. Welcome back. Hopefully you enjoy a little bit of a change in NASCAR. But I do want to remind everybody that the racing is only half of the action with data drivers. And I would argue more of the fun and excitement comes tomorrow when we restart our hackathon series with hackathon number 4. And for those new to maybe data drivers, the hackathons are really based on this idea that we take data that's being created by iRacing and by our drivers and by our gaming PCs, and we bring all that data into Splunk, and then we provide participants, which could be you, again, simply register on the link in the chat. We provide participants with a lab environment where all of this data from all of our drivers is being streamed into Splunk, and then we help walk through some challenges of how to use Splunk's unique observability for IT capabilities to derive insights into the racing action. And again, the idea is to help develop skills for you that would be absolutely transferable to your job. They're real life skills that we use in IT observability daily, just applied to racing. I mean, and let's be honest, what's more fun than talking about racing and getting to go racing and then playing with the data to learn some great technology?
Yeah, absolutely, Corey. I'm pretty excited for our hackathon tomorrow. And as we see today, we're generating quite a bit of wonderful data for us to take a look at tomorrow. So stay tuned for tomorrow's broadcast. And in the meantime, enjoy today's in this beautiful car that I say so myself, outfitted with the wonderful Splunk Trust logo.
That's right.
Yeah, speaking of which, if you're ever interested in Splunk Trust, applications are open. So you can nominate yourself or anybody you see fit who's an active member of the Splunk community that helps keep the Splunk world, a little Splunky. So you can go ahead and find that online and suggest or recommend or nominate yourself or anybody you deem fit, and I'd encourage you to do that.
There you go. Well, we see George actually putting on quite a clinic. He actually laps me in fourth position. So we're starting to see the leaders. Again, these are super short laps getting ahead. There, we're on board with Blake. Blake's going to go ahead and go a lap above me as well. See, he's taking that higher line in that this year's Cup car, holding it so smooth. He gets up there in that, right up by that wall, and he actually talked about it in the pre-race a little bit with us, that if you get up there right by the wall, see how close he is to that wall? He's actually taking advantage of something called a bubble, which is this pressurized air that happens when you get the car up there close enough that it actually pulls you down the track because you're creating pressure differentials. It's quite an interesting strategy, and we're seeing him use it to his advantage. And I honestly, George, great driver, but I have a feeling the delta between performance of, next gen car and Cup car having a play here, which is kind of fun to watch.
Absolutely. I think we're seeing the absolute finesse and talent of Blake Reynolds there, being able to take a car that is not a next-gen car, but being able to just apply that next level of driver talent and keep himself in a competitive position right now.
Yeah, well, you and I seem to be going back and forth in that third and fourth position. You took a little bit of a nasty spin. Looks like you're going to go in and get some repairs. There we see George getting into John Labaugh. The matching twin cars 5 and 6 getting tangled up in turn number 3 and 4. That is tough to see them both go down like that. Hate to see that for George running a great race. Hopefully he doesn't have to pit for too much damage there. But that's the fun of a short track like this, is that we're all bunched up, having a blast, cruising around. But I think it'll be interesting to go back and look at the data. And speaking of going back and looking at the data, I do want to recap what we've done in the hackathon so far, because it's been a lot of fun. In the first hackathon, folks, we showed everybody how to ingest data from our gaming PCs. Again, iRacing is run on the PC platform, Windows operating system, and we showed how to use the Splunk Infrastructure Monitoring Smart Agent to pull data from that environment and get all sorts of interesting Windows performance data into Splunk. Oh, there we see George taking another spin. That was John Labaugh taking another spin there. That is tough. Blake Reynolds actually sneaks by safely, maintaining that lead position, putting all of us a lap down. Wow, he has already gone a lap up on the field. We have all got some work to do.
And that is just where you see that skill coming in from him, because as all of us are now getting slicker tires, we're seeing him stay out there and just show where that skill is coming in. Absolutely impressive.
Yeah, it's so fun to have somebody this good. I say it's fun. We're getting our pants beaten off of us, but it's pretty awesome to see. Now, look here. We've got Blake actually going into the pits. This is kind of an interesting strategy. Now, Blake may be feeling like at 38 laps, those tires are toast. We're in a single pit exit, so he has to go all the way around the track basically to get to his pit entrance or to his pit station. And it looks like I'm going to actually be able to make up that lap that he was down and go ahead and take the lead back in the race, which is completely unforeseen. But I will say, I think of those top 4 cars, I'm the only one that hasn't been in the pit yet. So there you're seeing my Splunk car, inspired by the Veloce Esports team car, driving on tires that are 39 laps old. And you can see my lap times are not very impressive, if I'm honest. They're slowing down quite a bit, which may have something to do with, it looks like some pretty significant damage on that front right quarter panel, and I don't think the tires are too healthy right now.
And here's Blake coming back to make up his lost time. One thing to call out here on this track too is it is only a 15-second lap time. So where you're seeing, +1, +2 laps, that's only a 15-second differential, which can be as simple as a pit stop or even a wreck.
And there you go.
And there he goes.
He's back on the lead lap. Taking position. He's still in second place, a couple laps up from you. One still basically the length of a lap behind, but he's on that lead lap and making some pretty impressive time. Look at that 17-second to 14-second difference. It won't take him long to surpass me. Now, we've gone past the PC data in our hackathon number 2. If you missed that, we pulled data from iRacing. We showed you how to build a script in Python to extract more than 300 metrics 6 times a second and get those into Splunk Observability Cloud. And here we talked about pit strategy, Kyle.
Yes.
What do you think?
Corey, I see you out there still. Looking at timing of the race, we're a little over halfway through. So seeing a lot of people kind of pit and then go ahead and take their halfway through. So they've hit the worst performance part, arguably speaking. Now here you are, 43 laps in, over halfway through the race. What's going through your head right now as far as a pit strategy? Because you've overshot your opportunity for the optimal time to pit in this timed race. So what are you thinking here?
Well, I was thinking that there is not a requirement to pit in our race, so you didn't have to. And candidly, I'm hoping that the tires will hold up for the duration of the race, because I'm in first. I know that my lap time is probably 2 to 3 seconds off of the leader, but I'm hoping that means that I've got 30, 40 laps before you or some of the other field might catch me, given that you're 2 to 3 laps down. And if 2 to 3 seconds, 15 seconds a lap, I'm hoping that we can go the distance at more than halfway here. So I'm going to go with the no pit strategy to see how it goes. Hoping we don't see what we saw in practice, which is if you push the tires much past 60 laps, we actually saw a number of folks have blowouts and actually lose tires. So I'm going to try to run some pretty tame, not too aggressive laps, keep the tires cool, and make them go the distance. Hopefully so. We'll see what happens.
Really, that's a strong move, Corey, considering we're not having yellow laps or penalty flags during this opportunities, or caution flags, excuse me. So, blowing a tire.
Wow, look at Blake. Look at Blake threading the needle. I mean, he literally works through 3 cars there, passes on the outside, and just absolutely puts on a clinic of driving these Cup cars. I mean, look at that. Just
pure
taking
skill and new tires.
And it is crazy. Again, he's driving a car that's it's the current Cup car, which is certainly a fast car, 750 horsepower, fast car. It's awesome. But next gen's even faster. So pretty interesting to see. Now, I will say on our hackathon, our last hackathon, we did have some technical challenges in our data generation process that actually slowed us down on giving you all the experience live the way we wanted. But like any mistake or challenge that you find yourself in real life, and look at Blake just using the toe, getting around John so smoothly. Like any mistake you have and challenge you have in real life, use it and learn something. And I can tell you what, I am super proud of John Labaugh and his ability to create a new data gen process that we're excited to show you all tomorrow in the hackathon, where we're actually going to be taking the data from this particular race, and we're going to be, the race is 20-ish minutes. And we're actually going to be starting at 3 o'clock today, or 3 o'clock on Thursday on through the weekend, so everybody can tinker with it. Every 30 minutes, this race will be rerun from a data perspective. So we're actually captured all the logs of all the metrics that were created with timestamps, and we're actually rerunning those every 30 minutes. So you'll basically have, the race start at the top in half of the hour, run for 23 minutes or so. Who was that getting tangled up?
I couldn't spot it.
Oh, Mike Geldart, another one of our new Splunkers racing, but it looks like he saved that. Very impressive race. I think Mike is actually joining us from, is he in Dubai? I think he's racing.
I believe so, yeah. He is joining us all the way across the Atlantic, which is really impressive. And man, his lap times are just absolutely astounding to watch. He is fast, Corey.
Yeah, it's funny. We lost a couple of our British drivers that have previously entertained data drivers with us. I think NASCAR and its roots didn't excite them as much, which I completely understand. And one thing you have to know about iRacing is anytime you do new things, new tracks, new cars, it does cost money. So maybe they didn't see themselves using them. Totally understand that. Now, again, we talked about that we have this new data gen process, the hackathon tomorrow. Super excited. John's going to come back and sit down with Kyle and I, and we're going to challenge everybody to not only continue building services, where Kyle and I are actually going to show you, as the homework assignment from the last hackathon, we said, hey, go out and build out your services further. He and I have each taken some time and built our own services. Wow, Blake, look at getting squirrely, drifting that car and just keeping it under control. Got a little squirrely, putting a little bit too much power to the ground. That 750 horsepower is hard to contain, especially coming out of the corner. You've got so much weight transfer to that outside as you lose the angle of those the bank. That's crazy. So we're going to be building tomorrow more services, and we're actually going to start to show something really cool, which is when you build KPIs and you build health scores, which health scores can be an aggregation of multiple KPIs. We're going to start to show how they're interdependent and how a service like our car is actually dependent on something like the track. Track conditions will absolutely play a role in how things are going for our car. If you think about the track gets hot, tires can be affected, right? So we're going to start to talk about service dependencies, and then we're going to show you how those dependencies, things like the track as a service and the car as a service, can actually impact our race as a service. So our performance overall is sort of a top-level service that, if you want to think of an analog, it'd be something like, a revenue-touching service for a business is that top-level service, and there's lots of things that impact it. That's exactly what we're going to show you how to build in ITSI. So be sure and tune back in at 12 o'clock Pacific time here on Splunk's Twitch channel.
Corey, it looked like you were getting a little squirrely there in a turn there. This is a nice save. How are those tires treating you so far?
Yeah, they're terrible. If you just notice, I'm running 18-second lap times at this point because I bounced off the wall. The car has actually gotten to the point where even though I have a significant downforce advantage over those Cup cars, I really can't make use of it in these turns. Even though they're highly banked, I'm actually having to give them the brakes as I'm making my entry, and I'm having to trail brake all the way into the apex of the turn and then rolling slowly back on the throttle, not really able to give it everything until I have absolutely exited the turn because those tires are just hosed. It's really bad, actually.
Blake Reynolds going 3 wide again on that track.
I mean, threading the needle.
Just absolutely fascinating. I'm getting a little nervous seeing him in my rear view right now. Now, shout out to Jeremy Howerton for giving a little bit of inspirational Talladega Nights end of movie car there, paint job. I'm pretty excited to see that on the track.
I did ask him on driver chatter if he had a mountain lion sitting next to him to inspire him in real life, and he said no. And I was, I'll be frank, I was quite disappointed. But I tell you what, you won't be disappointed by, and that is the fact that Splunk.conf is coming up in October. And let me tell you, it's not just a virtual conference, folks. We're going back to in-person experiences October 18th through 21st in Las Vegas. Be sure to head over to conf.splunk.com to register today. And spoiler alert, Kyle and I found out last week something really exciting. Kyle, you want to tell them?
Yeah, so we have submitted and graciously been accepted to speak again at .conf around data drivers and the race to observability. So we will be there discussing the multi-month adventure that we've had with this and the process and things we have learned through playing with data and racing data and helping Tobin and the McLaren Shadow esports team. So I'm excited, Corey. I hope you're excited.
Man,
and,
I'm stoked beyond belief. We're actively working with the Splunk Conf teams. I don't want to give too much away, but just look for fun stuff happening related to Splunk's awesome partnership with McLaren, with our McLaren Shadow esports team, and with this Data Driver series. It is going to be a lot of fun. And there you have it, folks. That is the race. Blake Reynolds puts it down, puts on a clinic. You can see there running some beautiful, almost 16-second flat lap times, running a brilliant 14.8. And there you go, Kyle. I ran laps that were not super fast, probably some of the slowest, but I made it okay.
Hey, it goes to show, consistency will win a race. It's not exactly the fastest lap, but who can provide the best laps overall. And here Blake is enjoying putting on a little bit of a donut show. Oh,
he was going to go for some donuts. Jeremy gets a hold of it. Everybody, thank you so much for watching Data Drivers. As we said, register for .conf. There is a Boss of Ops and Observability happening, and I'll tell you, there's a Data Drivers episode that'll be there too, so you can get your hands on the data as well. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for the hackathon. Sign up for .conf, sign up for the boo, and keep watching the Data Drivers series. Whatever you're into, be data-driven and join Data Drivers.